Welcome. This is all minus one quick shots. So, folks, today I want to talk about the vaccine being taken off the market, but really quick, just a few things to follow up on the case I was talking about yesterday. Obviously, we know there are riots going on. A young man, Dante Wright, was killed by mistake. Seemed very obvious that it was a mistake. And they were going to arrest him for a warrant that was out after they had pulled him over. So I just wanted to cover that. The warrant seemed to be very legit. Just like I said yesterday, this kid, Dante Wright, was just a typical punk. He doesn't have a gangster role, but he's got a fan of cash out in the one picture. And of course, he's got a gun in another one. And he was out. There was a warrant for his arrest for an attempted robbery and choking and holding a woman at gunpoint. And that was just this past December. So this, again, was not a good person. And this is what we keep seeing. The media and BLM and whoever else want to lionize basically evil. They basically wish to make martyrs out of evil folk. And anyone who are good folk, of course, you are the evil ones. The other portion to that I want to address is that the police officer, I found out yesterday evening after I recorded, had been a 26-year vet of the force. This is seriously alarming that she had been a police officer for 26 years, which means she should have had plenty of experience with very stressful situations to then make a mistake as she did. And frankly, folks, she needs to be charged with manslaughter. And this has nothing to do with race or anything else. It's because she was a cop, and cops need to be held to a higher standard than other people in society. If you did something like that, you weren't trained. If a cop does something like that, they might not have been trained either, but they should have been. And that is the issue. Unfortunately, what won't happen is the heads of the department will not face many issues, although there are resignations that have been happening, including the police chief. Well, that's fine and dandy, but this is going to just keep happening. So either basically walk off, get the blue flu, whatever it is, go find another profession because the people don't want you there, or stop showing up to calls, do whatever. Do something to show that you have some sort of power and authority. And all these police chiefs that just listen to the mayors and, the will of the city council or whatever, you need to grow up and get a spine. I understand how it works, but true leadership means sometimes standing up to bad leadership and accepting the consequences of that. And I can assure you, folks, I have done that in my life and paid the cost, to include losing jobs. But in any case, not that I was fired or anything, but losing jobs as in I was no longer going to be able to work there myself because of my moral principles. But anyways, let's go back to the vaccine, because that is a whole nother thing. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is being halted because of blood clots. Now, there are a lot of issues around the potential use of the vaccine because it has never been vetted before. It's never been tried. There has never been an mRNA vaccine used in human beings. It is completely and entirely experimental. The AstraZeneca vaccine was halted completely in Europe and I believe here in the United States. In any case, these things aren't vetted, and that's all most of us have told you from the beginning. Why would you get this when it does nothing for you for a virus that is highly survivable? I mean, I could die from any number of viruses over the years. I've had strep throat several times. I've had sinus infections. I don't think I've ever had pneumonia, but I've definitely had various very severe flu or colds. Obviously, I've had stomach issues like everyone else before, sick to the point where I'm throwing up, thinking I'm going to die. And I made it. I made it, guys. I made it. I wouldn't want to go through all of those experiences again, per se, but I'm sure I will at some point in my life. But I certainly would not like to take the easy way out and take a vaccine that is completely experimental and there's no liability against the companies that make them. This is just being basically wise, right? Judicious, understanding that, hey, the world, for one, is screwy. I shouldn't trust the world. I don't trust our government. I don't really trust any governments. Why should I trust them? They don't have any interest of mine in their minds. They are worried about their own power and their own little devices in which they shall plan out the world and whatever else that they're doing. I don't trust them. Even though it was under Donald Trump and I voted for Trump. Don't trust it. Didn't trust it then. Not going to go for this thing. The mask science, of course, is screwy. And with all that, we had Ron DeSantis censored on YouTube the other day because he talked to some doctors who were experts, Harvard-educated doctors, that YouTube didn't like because it contradicted somebody, even though the CDC and the WHO contradict each other all the time. By the way, folks, anytime and every time I bring this up, I do risk getting my channel yeeted or at least getting a strike on it because, well, I don't know what I can say or can't say. I had a video taken down, just given a warning, but it's a strike. So, because, YouTube's fair. So they give me a warning on the first one. Completely automated. Sent in an appeal. Within 2 minutes, the appeal was rejected, meaning they didn't watch my video. They didn't offer any direct basic any direct indication of what I did wrong, although I'm pretty sure I know what I did wrong, is I played a doctor, a very well-educated doctor who spoke in front of the parliamentary government or a parliamentary government in Canada, I think in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, maybe, Alberta, something like that. But and he said things that YouTube didn't like. And people have been talking about this with the vaccine. All we want to do is have a conversation. All we want to do is converse. But immediately people need to label and need to shut you down and whatever else if you are not part of the corporate right think. And the corporate right think, folks, is BLM. The corporate right think is Antifa, right? The corporate right think is Republicans bad, although I would generally agree with that, not because they, not the people who are Republicans, but the people in power, because they aren't really Republicans. They're rhinos. They're there as warmongers. They're neocons. The lineage of neocons, by the way, folks, comes out of communism. Interestingly enough, a bunch of Trotskyites. Yeah. I am one who just wants to talk and have a conversation and be open with things, but the YouTubes and other places want to say, no, you're wrong. And it turns out that I'm not wrong. I'm actually right constantly and proven right time and time again. And now we've had 2 of these vaccines canceled, and I could get canceled by talking about it on YouTube. They've gone after big folks like Alex Jones, of course, the president of the United States. They just took down Ron DeSantis, Steven Crowder, right? These folks get, obviously, a lot of attention. They're quite famous. Now, Crowder might not be as famous as those others, but let's realize, folks, that we are starting to enter this weird realm of techno fascism, in which these corporations, working in conjunction with the government, are bolstering up a political party. It's really quite interesting if you read The Vampire Economy by Gunther Riedman, who probably has one of the best books on the Nazi party in business and the new Third Reich. And essentially, you had to be a part of the party. You had to bribe people. You had to be in the in-group. It was a big corruption scheme, like it always is and always will be, because that is the default in nature of humanity. We are in this and I mean pre because we're on the verge of it actually, cyberpunk dystopia. Klaus Schwab talks about the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution, in which you will be chipped and tied into a network like the Borg to everyone else. You see, part of this whole vaccine thing, of course, as well, is to check who will comply, because whether it is totally harmful or hardly harmful to anyone, it is more of an issue of where is the public at as far as compliance goes. I was watching a stream just a little bit ago, and I was kind of sort of talking about this idea of compliance, and that I've brought it up before too as well here, that there's a lot of probing legislation. There's a lot of things that government does to move the Overton window, right? The boiling frog effect. And these vaccines, and using the media to espouse them and tout them out, are part of that. I think all of the misinformation is part of that. All of the confusion, all of the mixed messaging, and the continued censorship of things. But see, there is more to come. Like right now, they're talking about a computer chip, a chip that can go underneath your skin and decide if you have the antibodies for the Rona or not. Guys, this is what is coming. So whether you take the vaccines or not, they come off market, whether there are vaccine passports, whether there are anything else that, or there is anything else that shall be coming out or going on around all of this. The biggest thing is that you need to wait and be patient and stop being scared. This is what adults do, is we wait and we be patient. I have less issue with this vaccine being rolled out to the elderly, because, well, I'm not worried about their mRNA affecting their long-term life. But as far as everyone else, I don't know why you want it, because you will survive, most likely, this thing, unless you are not a healthy person, and that's on you. And you're not going to have the most longevity or fulfilling life, have the most quality of life if you're not healthy into your elderly years. So, yeah, this whole vaccine thing, like this is 2 now they've taken off the market. And I always say, go back to the flu, was the avian flu, the swine flu, whatever it was. There was an outbreak in an army depot or an army base or whatever. Some guy had this flu, and all of a sudden the government decided that this flu was going to rush through America. This was in the 60s, and kill everybody. So they rushed a vaccine. And what happened? Well, several thousand people ended up with permanent neurological damage, and there was a great deal of litigation and money that was paid out to them. Unfortunately, today, that situation won't occur because the litigation, according to the government, well, it's not legal. They're protected. They have immunity. So, yeah, just keep being patient. Just keep waiting. Obviously, I don't know how many folks you know that have had the coof, but I know quite a few. And I only know one, a cousin of mine, a second cousin, who passed away. And actually, he's not even my cousin. He's a cousin through marriage. But I did grow up around him, and it's unfortunate. But he had heart issues and was mildly obese and whatever else. And this is just what happens, folks. This is life. Death is part of life. And as I am fond of saying, memento mori, remember that you shall die. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Go over to the Ins Justify the Memes tonight and check us out. We don't have any guests, but we will be running a lot of memes probably and just chilling because, well, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about, and it's just Tank and I, so we'll see where the rabbit holes lead. With all that said, this has been all -1 Quick Shots, and I wish you all well.